Babies do feel pain, even in the abortion procedure. They will pull away, they understand, foreign instruments coming near them, so that they will pull away and they do feel pain. A common tool nowadays, all women will receive an ultrasound during their pregnancy. The Respect Life Ministry has begun to have ultrasound. We have it in 2 of our 5 centers, and it's used for determining the viability of the baby. We have limited use in our ultrasounds, but they are used for the viability of a baby, especially if a woman is abortion-minded. Sexual activity is so prevalent outside the parameters of marriage. Many people in society are not believing that sexual activity is a gift inside the parameters of the sacrament of marriage, and that's one of the hardest things in working with the girls, is that they don't have to be engaged in the sexual activity. A lot of them are looking for love in like all the wrong places, so to speak, and so that's one of the hardest things in working with the men and the women, is to make them understand the value of our being male or female, and the giving of ourselves to another person when it's that right person in the gift of marriage, the sacrament of marriage, instead of sexual activity just as one night stands, or because I think I like you well enough to, engage in this activity. So it's difficult sometimes to pull these women away from and making the change in their life, because sometimes it is one pregnancy after another, and sometimes they think they have to stay in this way of life, and they don't have to stay in this way of life just to be loved.
Turn that around so that you don't have to role model your parents if they're that way. You can lead your own life, and we try to, give them the idea that, it's, as I said, marriage is the place for it, and the love, not just, going out and thinking that you're getting love. And you don't have to do what your friends are doing, as I said, and your parents.
Those students that want to come and volunteer, and that's the reason why we don't have them come and volunteer here, because that would be shocking. It would be a shocking thing if you were working here and one of your friends walked in. Keeping the state in mind, Rhoda Tatter-Brake is understanding the violence that has been done to her. Against her will, she may or may not have conceived a child when she's been raped. It doesn't mean that she has, just because she's raped, that there is a baby there. But now we have to look at that child that has been conceived. Is that any different than any other child that was conceived in any different other way? Whether it's a very loving act that was done and the child was conceived that way, the baby is still God's creation. So to have an abortion and to say that that's okay in that situation, you're still ending that baby's life in a very violent way. Well, perhaps if she gets the necessary counseling, she can begin to understand that this was an act that happened to her. It shouldn't happen. But it's amazing when you see a baby and hold that baby, some of those fears that you're thinking about will dissipate. That baby looks at you with those cute little eyes and that beautiful little smile, and you tend to forget. Just like, even when a woman gives birth to a baby, there's a lot of pain that goes along to giving birth to the baby. And when the mother delivers the baby, she says, I'm never going to go through this again. Well, guess what? You forget about all that pain that went along with it. And, mothers give birth many times over. Forget about that pain. So it's the same way. Probably with some, I've never had it happen to me, so I don't know for sure. I can't speak of experience. But I would think there was some counseling, and once the mother begins to bond with that baby, she'll begin to lose hold of that ordeal that happens. She'll just bond with the child, and especially if she begins to have support from her family. And this might be one area that you could work with the mother as far as adoption goes. You know, if she feels like, you know, the trauma would be too much, you could work with her in presenting the situation of adoption, because the mother has until after the baby's born to actually finalize her decision. She doesn't have to make this adoption plan or this procedure before the baby's born. So she has the option to wait till after the baby's born. So you could work with her, and if she really feels like this would be too hard for her, she might be very willing to give life to the baby, but then maybe perhaps adopt it to a loving couple that maybe cannot have a child and would love to raise a baby. So that's an option too, that, you know, if they're in a difficult situation, in any pregnancy that they may be feeling. You know, usually it doesn't happen like that. Many times they'll tell you when you present adoption, they'll say, well, I can't do that. I can't give my baby away. But they don't understand in the abortion what they're actually doing is ending the life of the child too. They can't give it away, but they...
Yeah.
Do you find that more of your women end up opting for adoption, or do you find that a lot of them keep their baby after they visit with you? And have
very few of them adoption. There's very few adoptions. Most of them would rather keep the baby than adopt. Now, as far as keeping the baby and abortions, they still mostly do keep the baby, but they tell you they can have the abortion before they can have, you know, go through adoption.
Throughout this project, I learned many things that I didn't know. It was great talking to the two ladies. I learned a lot of, I learned how fortunate I am for my mother having me, because I was kind of in a situation. When I was born, it was an accident. Like, my parents were supposed to have me, but I'm grateful that they did choose to have me. I had a very big question, which I was questioned. What would you do if you got raped? Would you keep the baby, or would you abort it? And I'm thankful that she answered it in a way that I would understand that it's not the baby's fault. It's just like any other baby. You have to appreciate what you created. So I'm happy that we picked this topic.
I'm glad we picked this topic because before we started it, I didn't know places like this existed, and I think it's really great that there are places like this where women who are in tough places, where they're confused and they're scared and they don't know what to do, can come here and get the help they need, whether it's, you know, like stuff to have, diapers, or whether it's just, a lot of people just need support, and I think it's great that they can come here whenever they want and know that someone's here to help them.
I'm glad we did this project because I knew about this before, but I didn't really know what went on behind the scenes. So going back there and taking a tour was really good. And I got to learn more about this that I didn't know before.
I learned a lot about the ministry today. I have been doing some service hours for them, but I learned what went on behind the scenes, and I haven't been to one of their offices yet, so this was a really good opportunity. And I was really surprised by how much donations they get, because they completely run on donations and there's nothing else. So I'm really glad we chose this project for this reason.
Going to our presentation, I realized that not everyone's fortunate enough to have children, and that children are the key to happiness, because without them, this world would be nothing. And as we say, children are the future, and that everyone should be able to have them and not abuse the fact that you can have them but throw them away the next day, because that's not God's plan. And having a class like Campus Ministry allows me to understand why God created us, and that's the most important key I learned.